Hello, my name is Stephen Garner, and my cue for you today is be your own superhero. When I was younger, I wanted to be just like the amazing Spider-Man. I wanted to sling webs, scale buildings, fight supervillains with my super spider power, and in my fanciful imagination, there was nothing that I could not accomplish. Well, I think there's value in studying the behavior of superheroes in order to realize our greatness. Listen, I know we're not fighting supervillains or aliens from other worlds. However, there's a common foe that we face every single day, and I know you know who that foe is. It is yourself. You see, depending on your mindset, you either believe you're going to be victorious or defeated. I believe that you can be victorious every single day if you apply the same principles, the same tactics of a superhero. Now listen, what makes a superhero super is that he or she, when faced with danger, when engaging in battle or conflict, does that extra, does a little bit more than the average hero, goes above and beyond the call of duty. There are three things that superheroes must do in order to be great every day. Number one, the superhero must study the enemy. In competitive sports, in business, in warfare, the enemy is studied for one reason. That is to learn how to defeat them. And when you're studying the enemy, you're looking at the strengths and weaknesses of the enemies, and then you're looking at your strengths and weakness so that you can determine what advantage you have when you engage in conflict on the battlefield. But oftentimes what we do, which I think is a very big mistake, is that we look at the strengths of the enemy and then we look at our weaknesses and we forget that we have strengths and we only think that the enemy has strengths and no weaknesses. Well, when we look at our weaknesses, we begin to do what we call self-doubting and we paralyze ourselves, which prevents us from performing at the level that we're capable of performing. I'm just speaking to myself. This is something I've actually experienced. I don't know about you, but I want to challenge you today to realize that you do have strengths. And then that some of the things that you see as weaknesses are really strengths in disguise. And I want to give you an example of the X-Men. They were outcast, abnormal, because they had that thing about them that was unusual and didn't fit into society. The very thing that was considered a mutation or weakness was their strength. That's why they were called the X-Men, because they had something that was extra. Now, I have a real life example of this. I have a couple of relatives that are considered autistic, abnormal, misfits, however you want society classifies them as being. However, one of my relatives, when that individual steps into the room and there are strangers in that room, and the normal people can't relate to the strangers in the same way that my relative can, who is considered to be autistic or misfit or having a disability or however society wants to classify them. My relative is so awesome. His disability or his abnormality is actually a strength. I mean, he is the X factor. I mean, it is a superpower because he can break down the barriers of strangers and draw them to himself and cause them to feel great and love with the very thing that's considered a weakness. And I want to challenge you today. When you're thinking of yourself and you're looking at your strengths and weaknesses and you're evaluating your performance, you can't go by what other people say or think. And the thing that you cannot do is begin to doubt your ability, because as I said earlier, it paralyzes you from performing at the level that you can perform. Okay, the first thing you need to do when you're looking at the enemy, study the strengths and weaknesses and remember your strengths. Okay, the second thing you need to do is that you need to move from the ordinary to the extraordinary, right? Okay, so when danger came, what did Clark Kent do? He changed from Clark Kent to Superman, Bruce Wayne to Batman, Peter Parker to Spider-Man. You need to change when danger comes. And really, what danger should be for you is a trigger for you to see that there's an opportunity to be greater, to be better, right? Okay. And see, we can't be comfortable with just being the way we are, but sometimes we need conflict. We need something that will unsettle us, to cause us to rise to a higher level. And that's what difficulty does, actually. And so now when you see problems come your way, if you want to think like a superhero, you need to see that problem as actually being an opportunity, not an obstacle, not something that you should run from like the crowd does when the 50-foot monster is coming, when the alien from another world is coming. Actually, that's your cue. That's your signal to say, you know what? I need to move from where I am to where I need to be, which is great, right? See, the problem is actually an opportunity. Neil Donald Walsh said, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. It doesn't start while you're in your comfort zone. And so that's what problems are there for, to challenge you to rise to the next level. Move from the ordinary to the extraordinary. Change from your civilian clothes to your superhero mindset and go directly to the problem because you are great. That's where you are going to realize your greatest potential and opportunity. The last thing I want to share with you is that superheroes have to go out to fight, okay? But before you fight, there's something very critical that you must do in order to realize your greatness, okay, in life. Is that you have to win first before you fight. Sun Tzu, the great military strategist and general, said, a victorious warrior wins first, then goes to fight, while a defeated warrior goes to fight hoping that he would win. You see the difference? See, one believes that, listen, I've already won. Now I need to perform at the level that I'm capable of performing because I'm going to be victorious, right? But the defeated person is saying, well, I'm going to go to the battle hoping that I would win. See, whatever you think and believe to be true, that's how you're going to act. And if you believe you are victorious from the beginning, from the get-go, you're going to perform those moves that you have learned after you've studied your enemy, after you realize that you need to move from the ordinary to the extraordinary. You're going to be awesome. You're going to be super. And I believe you're super. Now you need to fight. You need to get out there and fight. Be your own superhero. Take your cues from me and live a great life.